Okay. So today's meeting is going to be very different from all the raw musings which we have done. Uh, today's raw musing or today's meeting, I am not going to lead or I'm not going to share. Now I'll tell you why. I believe that topics which I have experienced, which I have walked or I am walking that journey, or which I've understood better, or which I'm at least able to practice, I would want to put forward and share those experiences with you. But this topic which I've chosen, I think with all of you, I'm a victim of it too. Okay. So we all are in this topic together. Um, so this topic, as I said, it's not me, but it's a very interesting way of, learning from this book. Okay. So this topic, what I am, which I have presented to you, is actually a book. And today, what we are going to do together is actually listen to this book, and probably we're going to talk about it. The reason I told you to have a pen and a paper with you, because you can make your own notes or just few pointers which you want to talk about and which we will talk in detail later. And of course, I'm going to share my study and my understanding about this topic. So I'm going to share this audio and written format to you now, and we all are going to listen to this together. So there's a whole new format of ROM using which I'm experimenting today. But as I said, this is one topic which I myself is a victim of, and I don't think if I am not there, I should tell or share when I have not walked that journey myself. So I'm going to walk with you this together. So that's the very interesting part, that this topic is something where I am also going to walk with you together. So let's kick start. So I'm going to start this audio, and also there's a written format, so you can look at both the things together. Make sure you have a pen and a paper, make notes, that really helps. So let's get started, guys.
We've all been there. You sit down, ready for work, and you get a text. And as you're texting back, a news alert appears. So you shift over to read what's happening. But as you're halfway through reading the headline, you get another ping that someone liked the photo that you posted last night. And after checking who it was, you realize they've also posted new photos. Is that a new partner? Ooh. But as you start to click through, a Slack notification chimes. Wait, what was I doing again? All right, work. So, if you're wondering what's happened to your capacity for concentration, you're not alone. Collectively, our attention spans seem to be dwindling at an alarming rate, and every year, there are more and more distractions and interruptions added to the pile. Sadly, that's not a coincidence. From Silicon Valley to the structure of the contemporary workplace, forces beyond our control are constantly working to deplete our ability to focus deeply and resist distraction. But how did we get here? And is there any way to escape this dizzying attention spiral? An example of the type of questions we'll be covering in these blinks to Johann Hari's stolen focus. So set your devices to airplane mode and try to give your full attention to these 5 blinks as we uncover the story of a crisis that's reached a global scale. Blink 1. It's not just you, everyone is struggling to focus. Unless you're living off the grid, you've probably noticed that your ability to focus is getting increasingly difficult. You're busy all the time, yet you struggle to actually get anything done. I mean, I've been so distracted that I've even reached for my phone while I was holding it. In 2016, Sune Lehmann was having these exact problems. His capacity for deep focus was dwindling, and he was more susceptible to distractions than ever before. And because Lehmann is a professor at Denmark's Technical University, he didn't simply dismiss the nagging feeling that his concentration was waning. Instead, He spearheaded a study to find out if there's actually evidence to back this suspicion up. By analyzing various metrics across online platforms, he and his team discovered that in 2013, conversation topics would trend on Twitter for an average of 17.5 hours before people lost interest and moved on to a new topic. By 2016, that had dwindled to only 11.6 hours. That's a 6-hour decrease in only 3 years. The study records similar results across platforms like Google and Reddit as well. In short, the more time we've spent in online spaces, the shorter our attention spans have become. So, is it really just the internet that's eroding our focus? Well, yes, and also no. It's not quite as simple as ones and zeros. You see, Lehman's study also analyzed every book written that's been uploaded to Google Books between the 1880s and today, and they found this phenomenon actually predates the internet. With every passing decade, trending topics appear, then fade, with increasing speed. Lehman's study is indicative rather than comprehensive, of course, and measuring these metrics isn't a definitive way to map our evolving attention spans. But if we accept the premise that our concentration is suffering, the next question is, what's behind it? It's difficult to pinpoint precisely, but a good jumping-off point is what think tank director Robert Colville calls the Great Acceleration. Essentially, the way we receive information is speeding up. In the 19th century, for example, news could take days to travel from place to place. Then, technologies like the telegraph, radio, and television sped up the spread of information. On top of this, our information inputs, the different modes through which we receive information, have multiplied. In 1986, it was estimated the average Westerner ingested the equivalent of 40 newspapers a day through the various information inputs available to them. By 2004, that figure had risen to a frankly astonishing 174 newspapers worth of information. Today, that figure is almost certainly much higher. The internet has undeniably supercharged this acceleration. Now, information is not only available to us all the time, it actually intrudes on our lives through the ceaseless pings and notifications coming from our laptops and smartphones, and our brains just haven't caught up with this acceleration. Research suggests they never will. Our capacity for focus is an emergent field of study, but research in the area of speed reading suggests that there's a finite limit to how quickly we can process information. And as neuroscientists point out, the cognitive capacity of the human brain has not significantly changed in the last 40,000 years. The amount of information we input into our brains has, however, stratospherically increased. So it's really no wonder we sometimes find it difficult to focus. I thought we were going to switch to airplane mode. All right, let's pause and refocus. Now to blink number 2. Blink 2. Apps and online platforms are addictive by design, not by accident. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. The fact that these apps and other online platforms suck so much of your time isn't a design flaw. They're supposed to be addictive. After all, there's a reason Silicon Valley calls its customers users. And where did this design originate? The Persuasive Technologies Lab at Stanford University. In the early 2000s, the lab asked whether the theories of influential behavioral psychologists could be incorporated into computer code. In other words, it asked whether tech can change human behavior. And the answer, as you might have guessed, was yes. Here's an example. One of the psychologists studied in the lab was B.F. Skinner. Skinner was famous for the experiments he conducted on animals like rats. He'd present a rat with a meaningless task like pushing a button, but the rat showed no interest in doing this. Why would it? So Skinner modified the task. Now, every time the rat pressed the button, it would be rewarded with a pellet of food. Skinner found that rewards would motivate animals to carry out tasks that had no intrinsic meaning to them. Can't relate to the rat and the button? Well, Skinner inspired the creation of other buttons you might recognize. Like buttons, share buttons, and comment buttons. Those little hearts and emojis and retweet buttons aren't little design quirks. They're programming us to use social media in addictive ways by rewarding us for the time we spend there. These buttons keep us engaging longer, but they're only one of the many design elements geared at keeping us online. Here's another one: the infinite scroll. Back in the early days of the internet, web pages were just that, pages. Sites often comprised multiple pages, and when you got to the bottom of one, you clicked through to the next. The bottom of each page offered a built-in pause. If you wanted to keep browsing, you had to actively decide to click ahead. That is, until Asa Raskin. Raskin invented the infinite scroll, the endlessly refreshing feed of content that now features on the interface of nearly every social media platform, giving the impression that there is a never-ending supply of content. If likes and shares encourage users to stay online longer, infinite scroll encourages users to stay online in perpetuity. Raskin, however, has come to regret his invention. At first, he thought the infinite scroll was elegant and efficient, but he became troubled when he noticed how it was changing online habits, including his own. Noticing that he was spending longer and longer on social media, Raskin started to do the math. He estimates that infinite scroll induces the average user to spend 50% more time on platforms like Facebook and Twitter. And for most of these platforms, their business model is predicated on time, or as they call it, engagement, meaning how much time a user spends interacting with their product. That's the metric tech companies use to measure their success, not money, but minutes. Although money comes into it too. Because the longer you spend engaging, the more chances to sell advertisements.
May I have your attention, please?
The more you engage, the more companies track your behavior and build a profile uniquely suited to target you for specific ads. We don't pay for platforms like Facebook and Instagram with our money, but we do pay with another precious finite commodity: our attention. In Silicon Valley, time equals money. Only the money is theirs, and the time, the attention, is yours. Blink 3. Algorithms privilege outrage over community. Online platforms erode our focus and exploit one of our most precious resources for their financial gain: our attention. But these same platforms can be a force for good, strengthening community and driving collective action. To understand this potential better, let's travel to Brazil, to the Complexo de la Mau favela in Rio de Janeiro. The Brazilian government takes a militant approach to this crowded, low-income area, routinely sending in tanks to suppress unrest. And it's an open secret that here, police shoot to kill. When, for example, an innocent kid gets in the way of their bullets, they plant drugs or weapons on them and claim self-defense. Raul Santiago lives in Alemão. He also runs the Facebook page Coletivo Papo Reto, which collects and disseminates videos of the police shooting innocent people. The page has galvanized many favela dwellers to rally against their treatment and shifted the tide of public opinion in Brazil, where favelas like Alemão are often reviled. But the situation in Alemão has only gotten worse since the election of Brazil's hard-right president, Jair Bolsonaro. And here's the thing: Bolsonaro's victory, like Coletivo Papo Reto's success, can also partly be attributed to Facebook. Bolsonaro's campaign inundated social media with clickbaity, fear-mongering campaigns, and he ended up getting elected. So what connects us can also divide us. Lately, it feels like online platforms have been much more intent on dividing than connecting, and it's all to do with algorithms. Remember the infinite scroll? The content you see on this infinitely refreshing page isn't ordered chronologically. It's arranged by an algorithm that is programmed to feed us content that keeps us scrolling longer. It's easier to disengage from calm, positive content, but if something strikes us as outrageous or controversial, we tend to keep looking. It's part of a psychological phenomenon called negativity bias. Basically, it means that negative experiences impact us more than positive ones do. So it's in social media's interest to literally provoke its users. The algorithm has no ethics. It doesn't condone or condemn. It just codes.
Are you kidding me? Oh, yeah. We can do this all seriously? I'm the embarrassed. What's wrong with you?
But the people watching it do feel. They believe, and they judge. For some, the more they're exposed to misinformation, the more normal, even credible it seems. A 2018 study that analyzed ultra-right-wing militants in the US found the majority of them were initially radicalized on YouTube. You may not engage with misinformation online. You might put down your phone or shut down your laptop when you feel outraged by what you see. You may choose not to spend your attention on provocative content. But this still affects you. You see, when online platforms privilege divisive, shocking content, they also corrode our power for collective attention, our ability to focus as a society on issues that affect us. Back in the 70s, scientists discovered that there was a hole in the ozone layer caused by a group of chemicals called CFCs, commonly used in hairsprays. The scientists issued a warning. If the hole in the ozone grew, we would lose a crucial layer of protection against the sun's rays. Life on Earth as we knew it was at risk. Activists campaigned against the use of CFCs. They persuaded their fellow citizens to join the cause. Eventually, they put enough pressure on governments that the use of CFCs was banned. This is an environmental success story. But the outcome might have been different if we hadn't focused our collective attention first on the science, then on the arguments of our fellow citizens, and finally on the group effort of lobbying the government for a total ban on CFCs. Would we be able to train our focus collectively on a similar issue today? We already know the answer to this question. Climate change poses real and present danger to life on Earth. But collectively, we can't seem to absorb the science or even agree on whether we should be listening to scientists in the first place. Social media can be a powerful force for good, but rather than harness this force, though, platforms like Facebook are intent on exploiting our attention and, as a byproduct, sowing division and controversy. Recently, Facebook conducted an internal investigation called Common Ground, aimed at uncovering whether their algorithms really did promote controversy and misinformation to keep users engaged. The findings were very clear. According to the report, and I quote, "Our algorithms exploit the human brain's attraction to divisiveness." Facebook hasn't done very much about this disturbing finding, however, and neither have we. We've been too busy scrolling infinitely. Blink 4. Ditch multitasking. Recovering focus is about finding flow. How many things are you doing right now, this second? You might be listening to this blink and nothing else. If that's you, then you're monotasking. More likely, you're doing a range of things, listening to this blink, cooking dinner, scrolling through the news, chatting with your roommate or partner. It's easy and not inaccurate to blame our shrinking attention spans on our devices and the easy access they offer to an attention-sucking online world. But, like an artfully cropped Instagram snap, that's not the whole picture. See, there's a fundamental flaw in the way we frame focus. We live in an accelerating consumerist society, one that values speed and output. And in this climate, we're encouraged to quantify our attention in terms of what immediate results it yields. Our focus is a resource that allows us to produce, to earn, to tick items off our to-do lists. And that's where multitasking comes in. The more we can simultaneously achieve, the better our focus is spent. So why not distribute our attention across several tasks at once? Well, because, as it turns out, humans are really bad at multitasking. The word multitask was coined in the 60s by computer scientists to describe the function of computers with multiple processors. It was never meant to be applied to us. After all, we only have one processor, our brain. When we multitask, we're not simultaneously performing several tasks at once. We're switching between them at hyperspeed. Every switch incurs what's called a switch cost effect. When you switch between tasks or when you're interrupted mid-task, your brain needs to recalibrate, which decreases your mental performance. A study commissioned by Hewlett-Packard compared a group who worked on a task uninterrupted and a group that was distracted during the course of their task. The study found the group that was distracted temporarily dropped an average of 10 IQ points while they were completing their task. In a work climate that values multitasking as a sign of peak productivity, we're practically encouraged to distract ourselves, constantly answering emails, participating in multiple conversations about multiple projects, all while working across 3 or 4 different computer screens. In fact, in the US, the average white-collar worker spends 40% of their time engaging in so-called multitasking. Luckily, there is an antidote to multitasking, a way of approaching tasks that cultivates deep focus. The psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who first identified this state, calls it flow. You find your flow, Csikszentmihalyi theorized, when you become so absorbed by a task that you lose all sense of your surroundings, accessing a deep well of internal focus. If you've ever concentrated so hard on something that you lose track of time, then you've been in a flow state. In flow, your focus becomes deeper and better, and you're far less susceptible to distractions. The good news, according to Csikszentmihalyi, is that everyone can access flow as long as they meet a few conditions. First, the task you tackle needs to be intrinsically rewarding. When you're in flow, it's the process rather than the product that engages you. So, unless you're passionate about data entry, you're unlikely to find flow filling out spreadsheets. Second, the task should be challenging enough to demand your full attention, but not so difficult that you're tempted to give up on it. Finally, monotasking is essential. To tap into that wellspring of focus, you need to direct all your mental energy to a single task. High-performing individuals, from athletes to musicians to scientists, often attribute their achievements to their ability to access flow states. But in a society that has decided multitasking is a virtue, that values speed and output over deep focus, the average person is finding it harder and harder to achieve flow. Blink 5. We can get our attention back. In a world obsessed with multitasking, making room for other forms of focus, like flow, is a radical act. And it's possible. But it's not as simple as slowing down and switching off. Activating airplane mode won't do much as long as you live and work in a system that encourages you to multitask, privileges productivity at all costs, and encourages you to spend increasing amounts of time in online spaces designed to sap your focus. It's the system itself that needs to change. Luckily, change may be on the horizon in Silicon Valley, where disillusioned designers are beginning to push back against our attention crisis. Former Google engineer Tristan Harris and Asa Raskin, yes, the same Asa who designed the infinite scroll, want to see a non-predatory social media rise from the ashes of our current attention spans. Social media was designed to steal our attention, but Harris and Raskin are certain it could be redesigned to give our attention back. What would this new social media landscape look like? They have a few ideas. Infinite scroll would be turned off, for one thing, and all those little rewards like hearts and likes and shares might be turned off too. You could instead receive a daily roundup of what's happened on your feed, designed to discourage you from checking multiple times a day. And technology's power to influence human behavior could be used for good. You could tell the platform how much time you want to spend online, and it could work with you to achieve that goal. It could help you achieve other goals too. Want to try going vegan? The platform could connect you with online groups that share vegan recipes. Concerned about climate change? The platform could link you up with local activist groups, both online and offline. This is all hypothetical, of course, but around the globe, real pushback against our collective attention crisis is seeing inspiring results. A New Zealand company, Perpetual Guardian, instituted a 4-day workweek. Employees have since reported better work-life balance, the ability to focus deeper for longer, and decreased susceptibility to distractions. And it's not just employees who reap the benefits. Shorter workdays and work weeks encourage deep focus instead of performative multitasking and encourage workers to avoid workplace distractions, like sneaking a scroll through social media when the boss isn't looking. In fact, when a Toyota factory in Gothenburg, Sweden, cut its workday by 2 hours, the workers actually produced at 114% of their previous capacity, and the factory reported 25% more profit. In France, the escalating demands on our focus are seen for what they are: a health crisis. French doctors grew concerned about the rising number of patients experiencing le burnout and took those concerns to the government. Now, companies with over 50 employees have to formally agree on the limits of their workweek, meaning it may actually be illegal for a French boss to send their employees emails over the weekend. In the big picture, these are all small changes, but they should leave us feeling optimistic. They show that they are solutions to this collective attention crisis. We can reclaim our attention, if only we can focus on the task at hand. You've just listened to our blinks to Stolen Focus by Johan Hari. The key message in these blinks is that collectively, our attention spans are shrinking as a result of our accelerated pace of life and speed of communication. The internet, and especially the rise of apps and platforms that prey on our focus, has supercharged this attention drain. And it's not due to a personal flaw or individual weakness. Most of these attention-grabbing methods are intentional, elaborately designed for the very purpose of keeping you distracted. To combat them, we need large-scale systemic change, both on an individual level as well as from the tech designers that invented these systems in the first place. To start, here's a quick piece of actionable advice. Don't focus harder on your task, but let your mind wander. Doing nothing is actually a valuable form of focus, and creativity arises when you make unexpected mental connections and associations. The longer you can let your thoughts drift freeform, the more unexpected associations your mind can create. I encourage you to try it out. It just might help you reclaim some of this stolen focus.
Yeah. So yeah, I know, man. Honestly, this is like, I did listen this along with you guys together. I had listened to two ones which were different, but yeah, it was very interesting. So I would really want to people to share whatever they have, like what is something they took from this whole interesting link. And first of all, whether in person or in chat, how would this idea of listening to a blink like this, some interesting topic which can be a triggering force to us to just, wonder, like help us wonder in certain topics. How was this idea? Did you guys enjoy it? If you guys enjoyed this, listening to these kind of blinks randomly, just give me a thumbs up. So it would really nice. Okay, mistake. This is nice. Okay, mom. Fair. Great, Kavnara. Okay, cool. Okay, Nityan. That was interesting. Okay, your friend. Okay, interesting. Okay. Uh, does anybody has any strong does anybody has any strong view or thoughts if somebody would just like to share what they think about this whole blend? Anybody? Because if not, then I'm going to of course ask people to come down and share. Anybody? Okay. Okay. Chalo, I'm going to go then. Um, let's start with Chirag. How was it for you? What were your thoughts here when it came to this space? Chirag, if you can unmute yourself. Yes, buddy.
Yeah, yeah, just one. Okay, yeah, that was interesting actually. And I don't know if it's good or not, but I, I, it was good to know that this is a global issue now. I don't want to call it a pandemic, but yeah, it's a concerning situation. I used to feel that, yeah, is it an individual problem or something? But yeah, I think it seems like a global. Although honestly, I don't spend much time on social media. But yeah,
Mhm.
focus definitely is something with internet and other things easily accessible,
Yeah.
especially apps and all those things, right? Yeah, you do tend to lose focus and difficult to know that maintain that flow that the author talked about.
I'm going to share something very interesting, guys, today. Okay. Now, though we are talking about the whole topic of focus, let's try and understand, what happens because of not focusing. Okay. So that I think we understand the whole major value. Now, let's see what happens. I am doing something. Let's say, for hypothetically, I'm studying. And while I'm studying, I get a notification or, background, or the notifications, as I said, you want to know more. And then there another notification, then you want to go back, then some news, then some pop-up. अब actually हो क्या रहा है देखो. In your head, you know that this is something which needs your attention and focus, and you're not able to do that. But because you're not able to do that, okay, वो वक्त तो हम डिस्ट्रैक्ट होके शिफ्ट होके हम एक अलग जोन में चले जाते हैं बट द मोमेंट वी कम बैक नो सडनली इट्स लाइक ओ शिट लाइक आई एम नॉट एबल टू डू इट आई एम नॉट डन इट मेरा कल एग्जाम है मेरा ये है एंड हो नहीं रहा है नाउ वी आर landing ourselves into anxiety. Now, lack of focus actually leads to us being anxious, getting us into more fear driven space. Why? Because now we are unable to build on anything we started properly. Think about a skill you learned, think about a sport you wanted to play good, think about, as I said, the academic journey, think about even for that matter, wanting to build a good relation with somebody. The point is that हम कोई भी काम में compounding कर ही नहीं पाते for us to reach and build because of the lack of focus. Now, because of this thing, as I said, if you see the side effects of us not able to be focused, is that we are always in a restless state. Now, for example, let's think about career, right? Now, the moment you start, okay, I want to start thinking about my career, then there is a notification or you swipe on Instagram and you see what that friend is doing. And then उसके बाद फिर उधर से कोई और इन्फॉर्मेशन फिर कुछ और फिर कोई गेम खेलने का मन किया अब उसके बाद सडनली यू न्यू दैट कि मुझे अगर करियर के लिए ये करना था और नहीं किया और अभी सडनली आई रियलाइज इन द नेक्स्ट 2-3 days I have to make a bloody decision. Now what happens here? Anxious because you have to make big decisions. So all big decisions with time needs attention, needs focus for you to reach that compounding space. तो शांति से अगर हम ऑब्जर्व करेंगे कितने ऐसे इंपॉर्टेंट डिसीजंस है जो हम जो टाइम और जो फोकस चाहिए वो हम देते नहीं है और फिर लास्ट मोमेंट पे वी रश इनटू इट एंड देन वी आर पैनिक अबाउट इट एंड देन वी आर रेस्टलेस देन वी आर टॉकिंग हियर एंड देयर एंड देन वी आर एंशियस देन वी आर थिंकिंग व्हाट इफ इट्स रॉन्ग व्हाट इफ इट्स राइट बट अगर हम वो टॉपिक पे फोकस कर पाए तो क्या हम इतना डाउट और इतना एंशियस स्पेस में फर्स्ट केस में पहुंचेंगे भी. Now that's a question we need to answer. So focus is just not a word, guys. It has a very, very strong relevance and significance in our life. And unfortunately, as I said, it's not like we can't really blame ourselves, to be very honest. Why? Because the ecosystem is designed in such a way. But now that we understand, they are not going to let us come out of it because they don't want us to. जब टेक्नोलॉजी जब ग्लोबल लेवल पे लोग इसको समझेंगे और करेंगे दैट वुड बी अ वेरी गुड एरा बट एटलीस्ट आई डोंट सी दैट कमिंग. So do we want to be victims of it? Do we want to let them do or let them take control? Let them take control of all the focus and attention, which is the most powerful, thing which we all can ever have. Do we want to do that? It's a choice we have to make. There are tools, there are ways which we can genuinely, if we decide to. And it's just not, as I said, putting your, phone off, your net off. These are small actions for sure. But as they rightly mentioned something very interesting in the last, it's very important for us to flow, the state of flow, where whatever you're doing, you are in that state of flow. And in that flow, no amount of distraction can ever, bother you. Now that flow is a state for us to reach. But unfortunately, as I said, वो बहुत far fetched लग सकता है हमें, but that's not far fetched to be very honest. We are going to, this is one topic which I want you to be with. I want you to ponder. I want you to think. Maybe when we meet, I want you to talk about it. Discuss with me, discuss with your mentor. It's not an answer. It's a journey which we need to walk in so much noisy, such a noisy world out there, such a difficult and noisy space out there. It's not easy. Believe me, it's not easy. जब मैंने आपको बताया, so why did I not lead? In spite of knowing this technically, the reason I didn't lead because I myself, I am a victim of this. I can't deny that fact. I do that myself in certain areas, in certain time frames. There have been times जहाँ मैं खुद अनकंट्रोलेबल वे में मैंने चीजें की है और कभी कभी करता हूँ अभी भी. तो I myself am a victim of it and I want to work myself. The reason, as I said, I put this out there is not for you only. It's for all of us to walk together in this journey of distraction. So, this is not a conclusion. This topic, like if you ask me, okay, Dhaval, what to do? No, I don't think it's that easy. But at least what I want you to do is just be with it. Just think about it. Just see the level of control. Just see the impact it has on your life. Just see the restless. Just see the anxiety it creates. With all this consistent level of information, see what it has done to you and your life. Nothing, nothing comes to it, guys. And this is something we need to understand. So I would want to conclude this today's raw musing. And if you think that, so I'm going to start walking. Okay, I've decided myself in the last few days. I've been working on myself, and I've decided that I'm going to spend time in understanding this topic better rather than concluding. I'm going to spend time in thinking about what is it all about, how does it work, what's happening to me, more reflecting, and then building on it and figuring out. If you think you want to walk that journey, and if there are people who are interested, how about all of us figuring out something and doing something collectively? I don't know. This is just a thought coming up together because, as I said, I myself am going to walk together in this space. Uh, you can share me in person what do you think about it. You can share me in person if you know, if we are able to slowly and steadily form something where all of us together can create some beautiful ecosystem for us to help each other and work together in this amazing journey. Okay, man. Thank you, man. I like this conviction. Thank you. Thank you for showing me interest. We'll wait for people because the more like see individual level, fit definitely I'm going to do and work this journey. But if genuinely people are interested collectively, I'll wait because I'm not going to force people. If I get response and if I get people that okay, this is something they want to work together, we will create something for sure. If we have, well, even if I get maximum of let's say 15 people, I'm good to go. That's a good enough crowd for us to collectively work together. So, but yes, let's ponder guys. Let's ponder on this topic. Let's see the impact. Let's see the effect. Let's see what it has done to us. And let's build one intention that whatever it takes, I am going to get my focus back, whatever it takes. And I think that's worth getting and worth fighting for. Good night. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope this raw musing and this uh, blink did make sense. You enjoyed that. It was a good topic for you to sit and ponder and figure around. In next raw musing, we're going to come up with something different, something interesting, some new topic as usual, and I'm going to see you out there. Good night. Take care. Thank you, Mr. Thank you so much.
Good night. Thank
Good
you.
night. Good night. Good night.
Good night, sir.
Good night, buddy. Thank you. Thank you, Ansh. Guys, it's done. If you have any questions, please let me know. Else you can leave. Okay, guys, I'm just turning off the link.